Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Outdoor Adventure Series podcast, where we celebrate individuals and families, businesses, and organizations that seek out and promote the exploration, stewardship, conservation, and access and enjoyment of the outdoors. Shelly Rivoli is our guest today on the Outdoor Adventure Series. Shelly is an award-winning author, blogger, and photographer, and a veteran family travel author who's passionate about active families who want to travel and explore. Her latest book, Hiking with Kids, Southern California, 45 Great Hikes for Families, was published earlier this month by Falcon Guides. Shelly, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on, Howard.
Fantastic. Now I want you to hold that book up one more time because you did it perfect. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. And I am so excited. So I'm a single guy. I don't have kids, but I have to live, when it comes to kids, I live vicariously through my nieces and my nephew, and they have kids, and they pack up the RV and go to the local state park or county park with the RV. And I thought this would be a perfect book to send to them so they come out and visit old Uncle Howard. But, well, congratulations on the latest book on Hiking with Kids.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I want to get into the book, but first, just share, if you will, just a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am the mother of 3 very cool, spectacular, thoughtful, and busy children.
Very good.
My oldest one is actually now on her first year of college, so that's been a huge adjustment for all of us. But the great thing about the timing of this book, Hiking with Kids Southern California, was that we got to do all of those hikes together as a family before her big send-off for college. So that's always going to give it an extra special place in my heart. So, good times.
Fantastic. I would imagine this book, perhaps it's not the culmination, but it's nearly 20 some years of experience traveling with kids. Had you always taken the kids off to these adventures? Because I went to local parks and Holiday Inns, okay? And I'm like, oh, wow, this is cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, my husband and I loved to travel and tried to get as much of that in as we could before we took the step to having our first child. And like a lot of people, we had the impression once we started a family, we would be grounded, basically. But that just doesn't always happen when your true nature is that of a traveler, I guess, and also a writer. So I was already a writer by trade. And so it wasn't long after we had our first daughter, and we were hiking in Yosemite, actually. And it just started becoming clear to me. It's so hard to just get out the door when you have a baby. It just is. Okay. But once you do, oh my gosh, it's so good for you, and it's so good for your relationship with your little ones, and it's so important. So the wheels started turning while we were in Yosemite on that first trip with her, and I started thinking, I think for my next project, I might like to do something that would help other parents get out the door, get out there with their little ones, and sort of conquer those fears and give them the tools for their own toolboxes, which I learned by stumbling my own way through it first. And so we had her camping, I think about 4 months. We did our first camping trip with her. And by the time she was 7 months old, we were actually in Thailand. So
oh my God, that's quite a jump there, Shelly.
Yeah. And I was on my way writing the first guidebook, Travels with Baby, the ultimate guide for planning travel with your baby, toddler, and preschooler. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I am curious. I have to ask this question. I get Yosemite. I mean, it's right up the street a little bit, sort of.
We're lucky,
How do you suddenly say, okay, let's go to Thailand?
Yeah, well, there were some other steps in between for sure. We were goodness. Yeah, I guess we did our first camping trip before we went to Yosemite, but it was on that Yosemite
in
trip.
the backyard or something like that. I get that.
Yeah, Big Sur, something like that. But yeah, in between we did some other trips. We did a big road trip we would do every year. We're both, my husband and I, from Oregon. So we once we started having kids, also every summer we would do a big road trip up to Oregon. So we'd already done a 10-hour driving day with her, bless her heart, and things like that. And then we flew back east to visit my husband's relatives. And that was actually my first trip back east because I'd never had family on the East Coast. So when I did big travel, I would jump all the way over to Europe or Asia or something and go as far as I could. So that was really fun and exciting to meet the family members and see all those famous sites in those big cities and things like that. And then eventually we went to Thailand, which was a little crazy, but it was great. It was
Okay.
really nice.
Part of me wants to know, and I'm sure we don't have time for it today, perhaps another conversation,
Mhm.
is what are the top 10 things you need to do to get baby ready to go to Thailand? But
Oh
uh,
man, that's in the
I
book. It's in the
that's
book.
it's in the book. So we're going to direct people to that wonderful book.
Oh, yeah.
Had you always been had this interest in writing? I know you're an accomplished photographer. This travel and photography and writing, had it always been in your blood?
Well, the writing, yes. The photography really came later. For some reason, as I was growing up, I was just sort of pegged as a writer from kindergarten on, I guess, and lucky in that respect. But with photography, I didn't grow up knowing anyone who was a photographer or did photography. And in my mind, that was like some very technical sort of pursuit that you would need to learn a lot of math for or something. And I definitely run from math. And it just, for some reason, it just didn't seem like something I would do until I was finally approaching 40, I guess, and I was already doing all the photos for my blogs and things like that, and I was growing in that way, and it was like more and more I knew the photos I wanted to share and to tell the stories, and so I just sort of took over the family camera. My husband had done most of it before that, and so I was doing that, and then one day it dawned on me, well, if I really think about it and apply myself, and there's so much great information online, I can certainly learn things. And then I was blessed at that point to know through some of the travel writing organizations that I belong to know amazing photographers and to get chances to pick up tips from them. And once I just started asking questions and opening myself up to the possibility, it was just like head spinning how much you can improve when you decide you want to with something. So yeah, so I was off and running, and then, before I knew it, I was doing a little photojournalism on the side, and then, selling, travel photos also, and more like that, and, now I also actually have a small portrait business on the side, so, I definitely crossed over into the photography realm.
You are not only busy, but I love that you have been pursuing this creative space, but also recognizing these little shifts and these gifts along the way. Oh, there's something here. I need to take advantage of that. Or how do I take advantage of it? And I love that. What led you to begin contemplating that there's another book in you, Hiking with Kids, Southern California?
That one came totally out of the blue to me. That still I just as it officially came out a few days ago, I I just had to take a deep breath and reprocess all of this because at this point it just feels like it was completely my destiny and my family's destiny. But it's so wild because for one time, I wasn't the one knocking on doors for that, and it was a wonderful, wonderful woman, Jennifer Fontaine, if I could throw her name out there.
Sure.
Um, she was going to be the original author for it. It's in the Falcon Guides series, and that was at the very beginning of the pandemic, or the pandemic hit like right after that was going to be. And I don't know how much you heard about it, but in 2020, like a lot of the trails in Southern California, they just had to shut down
Mm.
because they were so overcrowded and the parking situation was nuts. It was just not a good scene. And so just hiking a lot of Southern California at that point was really difficult. And so she definitely had some challenges, but her family decided to go on a new adventure of sorts. And so at the end of the year, they actually moved to Europe.
Oh, wow.
And that's where they're doing. So she contacted me and bless her heart. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And asked me, told me all about the project and asked me if I would be interested. And I really had to think hard about it at that point because we basically hadn't gone on a family trip in a year at that point. And it was a big commitment, the timeline and I had carte blanche basically. So I got to come up with the total outline, all the hikes, and as I kept looking over the map of California and figuring out all the places I would really want to be in this book. It was just like I don't know how we would get to all of them within the timeline. It's a lot of logistics. And we do have a dog and a cat on top of it. So anyway, yeah, then we did a little back and forth and then it came together and the next thing I knew I was committed to this wonderful outline and just crossing fingers and toes that all of the timing of the trips we'd planned would work out. We wouldn't have wildfires throwing things off, or we've had a lot of challenges in California.
Sure,
Um,
sure.
but yeah, we got to all those places, Death Valley and on, and it's just been an amazing adventure. And
Okay,
yeah, I feel so lucky. Yeah.
fantastic. Now, I'm
Mhm,
curious, has your family, the
mhm,
kids, the
mhm.
husband, are they immersed in this project of moms to get it, wife, to get this completed? Or how immersed were they in this process with you?
Yeah, I was really lucky that they didn't mutiny at some point because keep in mind that we were not only every spring break, every summer, every long weekend, we were somewhere. We drove over 3,000 miles just for the book.
Mm.
And that was within about 15 months, I think we did all the hikes. But along the way, they're not just showing up and doing the hikes. I'm there taking all of these notes, and I had to create a map as I went on every single hike. And then, of course, on top of that, I'm taking like a couple hundred photos probably of every hike we did, no matter how long or short. So they were so patient with me, but yeah, a lot of times they would finish way ahead of me. and, and they were, yeah, they were totally patient, but we definitely lived it. And when I got to hand the printed book to my son recently and just say, Don't just look at the cover, open it up." And he opened it up and he just got this grin, this little grin on his face, and this light sort of came on, and I just realized he gets it now. And all because he sees his mom with a camera in front of her face and staring at her phone making notes and all these things, but then it's like it really came together, and I thanked him. I just keep thanking my family for being a part of it, for living this book. So yeah, I'm so lucky.